Imagine all the people living for the day. Imagine there's no country. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. And no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of men. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
Travis, thank you. Always a gift to us. Thank you. It really is. All right. And of course, these two people beaming with pride are his parents. Okay, so. Yeah. Good morning. Grace to you, peace to you, welcome to you. Welcome to everyone, especially welcome to those that are visiting with us. And I want to say especially welcome to our guest that's going to help us through this service and enrich our time together, and that is Kyle. Welcome, Kyle, and his partner, Genesis. Thank you so much. And we have Amelia, which is with us, but she is in child care. And our child care people inspired confidence that they feel that Amelia will make it out alive. And we're great. All right. We set the bar low and in good hands. I call your attention to announcements that are in the bulletin in the insert called the Nuggets. Please take a look at all of that. And please continue to lift up the leadership of our congregation, to lift up the work of our congregation. That your prayers are always appreciated. And we need that, and we need each other. So I want to emphasize just a few things. One is that the Beatitudes lunch that we've been doing now for over a year, maybe close to 2 years. I don't know how long we've been doing it. Long time? A long time. And the Beatitudes lunch, where we go to Beatitudes campus and have lunch with residents there, that has been moved. It's always been on the third Tuesday. We have moved it on a trial basis to the first Tuesday. We're going to see how that works out. And so I think that's coming up, right? That's coming up this week. So just wanted to emphasize that. If you'd like to join us, it's also good to let us know. Contact the church office, let us know, because they appreciate having a number, how to prepare for that. So it's always a good time, and we hope that you join us. And then also, we will have our service, Shadow Rock at North Mountain Brewery. That's next Sunday as well, and the theme is the transparency. And if you look in the Rock the Week, you will find a link to a video introducing the theme, as well as questions to help prepare for the theme. So that's Shadow Rock at North Mountain Brewery on Dunlap. We start at 4:30 for food and fellowship, and then at 5:30 we start devotion and discussion. Now, I know that some of you are pushing it. You're saying, hey, I want the devotion and discussion and the food. And so I'm going to come at 5:30 and go to try to eat during the discussion. If you do that, we're going to have a food fight, all right? So we try to have those separate times, because then the wait staff doesn't feel so uncomfortable coming in and out when we're trying to talk to each other. So those are distinct times. If you end up dragging in at 5:30, we'll welcome you anyway. All right. All right. Well, this is our second campfire conversation, and we have a metaphor that guides us. It is a metaphor that is part of our identity. It's part of the foundation. It's part of our own self-understanding here at Shadow Rock. What we say here at Shadow Rock is that if you are a person that is wandering through the wilderness of life, you may stumble upon a clearing, a refuge, a sanctuary in the middle of this wilderness called Shadow Rock. And in this clearing, you will find 3 campfires: a campfire of traditional theism, a campfire of non-theism, and a campfire of atheism or humanism. And you'll find good people at every one of those campfires and be able to warm your hands, to share stories, and sing songs at any one of those campfires. And in equal distance from each of those campfires, at the center of the clearing called Shadow Rock, is a table. And it is a table of Jesus. It is a table of radical hospitality and generosity and of peace and of justice, so that you can leave your campfire, leave behind what those campfires represent, and just come to the table and share and be empowered and to be encouraged for the journey of life. And one of the things that we have discovered as we go through life is that what's of equal importance as each campfire is really the paths in between the campfires. Because depending on what's going on in your life may determine why you are at the campfire that you are at. And we honor those journeys. And each group of people, each campfire, brings to us an incredible story of journey and belief and character that enrich all of us. Now, there is only one rule in the sanctuary, in the clearing of Shadow Rock. And that rule is, it comes from my experience as a Boy Scout, that when we had our each individual tents, we also had our each individual campfires. And what we would do in the middle of the night is we would sneak out of our tent and we would pee on the other person's campfire. And so the rule is, you're not allowed to pee on the other people's campfire. Jesus said it much better. Jesus said, there's only one commandment I give you, that you love one another. That is, you show respect and you honor people's journey. You honor where they are. And that is the metaphor, the guiding metaphor that brings us to our second conversation today. And so we welcome you and hope that you are blessed by this conversation. All right. So, Barb, would you call us to worship?
Good morning. Would you join me, please, in the call to worship this morning? People wander around aimless in the wilderness of the world. people see a faint light blinking through the trees, and they move toward that light. People cannot quite make out the whole message, but they overhear words like inclusion, equality, peace, justice, faith, hope, and love. When people finally break through the tree line, they stumble into a single clearing with 3 campfires. Human beings name these fires to indicate where they are on their journey. The campfires are called theism, non-theism, and humanism. Amen.
Please rise as you're comfortably able.
There's a room for all in the shadow of God's wing. There is room for all sheltered in God's love. And I rejoice and sing, my refuge and my rock in whom I trust. There is room for all. There is room for all. There is room for all in the shadow of God's wing. There is room for all sheltered in God's love. And I rejoice and sing, my refuge and my rock in whom I trust. There is room for all. There is room for all. Please be seated.
Friends, I invite us to pray. Take a deep breath. Our dearest God, a spirit of life and love, mystery beyond all names, which we call every name, and yet you are beyond it. The height and depth of life and love. We want to know you, and we want to be known by you. We want to exist, rest, move, knowing that life is a gift. And so we breathe and we live and we move within the deep goodness of life. It is with an attitude of gratitude that we come together. And we are open to receiving the good word of encouragement that comes to us, whether it be from you or from each other. And so bless our time together. May we know we are loved. May we know that we are powerful. May we know that we have the ability to encourage and lift up. Let us not use our powers to tear down, but use them for good. And so hear our thoughts and our prayers. Bind us together. Lift us up. May all the people say, amen. Okay. Kyle, will you share the peace with us, please? Yes, we want your mic on.
You hear the rich mahogany? Like molasses.
Yes.
So my word of peace would be about finding ways. You want me to come on? Okay.
You are the center of our attention.
Hello, good morning. So without further ado, my word of peace would be about finding ways to transcend our own tribes, our own cliques, our own groups, whether you're Christian, a Buddhist, a Muslim, or like myself, an atheist, trying to find ways to look beyond our labels, to look beyond our categories, and to see the humanity, and to find those shared interests, those shared goals, and to harvest those to make the world a better place. So for me, that would be, I mean, it's a lofty idea.
It's a good one.
But it's needed. It's definitely needed.
That's good.
So that's what I would say.
In that, I wish you peace and glad you're here.
And I will say amen. I'm okay with that.
Very good. All right.
All right.
And we invite all of you to share peace with each other. Thank you to the band for, at the last minute, plugging in the song. I appreciate that. Kyle, I apologize because I did not get the information to the sound team to download the songs that you submitted. We're going to try and get the last one, the Glory Hallelujah one, but we did not get this one. But Afterlife was scheduled to be played at this point, and the words are in the back of the bulletin, so you can get the message of that. Okay, and we'll talk about some of that. And this artist is Sheila Siegel. She's very good. She's very good. So, Steve Martin said, "Atheists ain't got no song." He's wrong. They got plenty. So here's an example of that. All right. All right. Well, again, welcome to you. This is the time in our service when we lift up the celebrations of our life. Celebrations can be a birthday, it can be an anniversary, it could be when you were surprised by grace, it could be perhaps you were an instrument of peace for someone else. If you share that, you're not bragging. You're not bragging. What you're doing is you're simply saying, you know what? Life was really, really good in this moment. And that is a word of encouragement for all of us, and it is an affirmation of faith about the goodness of life. So, if you have such a celebration, I invite you to stand. An usher will come to you with a microphone, and then we get to all hear it. And we will start on this side, and then move our way across the room like this. And so we invite you to share a celebration. Lois.
A busy week at Shadow Rock, and there are many things I want to celebrate with you. It's so long, I'm sorry, I had to write a list. One night this week, we celebrated with the Stepping Stone Foundation. They're scholars, and Cindy may say something more about that. We had the Best Buddies prom here for high school again last night. My personal thanks to Brian Anderson. He always comes and takes care of that for me, and I don't have to come. So that's nice, although I enjoy being part of their prom. We took action in support of the children in our neighborhood. Someone will probably say something more about that. Also, action in support of teachers, including our own Shadow Rock preschool teachers who needed to find childcare for their children. So all of those things, thanks to all of you for your support in what you do. Also, many of you asked about my grandson Drake. He did have surgery on Tuesday. They placed screws and rods in his arm, and he's doing just fine. You would never know he'd even been injured. And yesterday was his 14th birthday.
Leslie.
Good morning. I'm Leslie Myers, and I just want to celebrate and thank Abbott and Tony and Barb and Roy for a great pick-a party last night. I think we're all still a little injured from it, but getting over that, and it was only our pride that's injured. It was a wonderful escape room, and we had Drake there with us, and I will say that the young boys celebrating their birthdays were the only ones that actually finished their part in time. So apparently we need some more 14-year-olds, but Monet and Heidi, we have some work to do before the next escape room. We really need to bone up.
All right, thank you. Ann.
I'm Ann Eicher, and yesterday was our 40th wedding anniversary.
Yes, congratulations.
Okay.
Wonderful.
And so I brought my family to celebrate with me. My daughter Kim, my son Carl, and his wife Jody, and our granddaughter Megan. And on the floor is he's hiding on. He's mad at me because I didn't let him go first.
All right. Well, thank you
That's
and welcome.
Liam.
Congratulations. All right. Yvette.
I want to celebrate because, and I want to share this. I received my work permit. Oh, like this? Okay, sorry. My first time using one of these. I received my work permit finally. I still can't leave sanctuary, but I praise the Lord for the movement that's going fast enough. And I want to thank everyone from Shadow Rock for supporting me and for showing that love and affection for my kids and my family. Thank you.
You're easy to love. All right. Thank you. Bert.
My name is Bert Ruby. I'm here to celebrate that not only do women like to shop, but I know a couple of guys in the choir who really like to shop. Mike and Herb, would you just stand up? Where is he? All right. Anyway, they were shopping for some food at Costco this week. And some people were feeding kids who would otherwise not have lunch with peanut butter and jelly sandwich and sack lunches. But what we did is we kind of hit the pastor's fund really hard. So if you would be so inclined to help replenish that fund, that'd be great. So Thursday and Friday, people were over at the trailer park at 19th Avenue and Greenway, and that's going to happen again tomorrow, I think, right, Mike? All right. So thanks again, Mike and Herb, for doing the shopping. It was a great job on their part.
Wonderful. Thank you. And so did you hit this fund while I was out of town, right? All right, that's good. Great work, by the way. Thank you. Steve.
Steve Merrill. Yesterday at 8 o'clock in the morning, I was able to, my wife and I were able to visit with 100+ clauses, people who wear the red suit, and shared our stories and what goes on during the whole year as we keep the spirit flowing.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Daniel, welcome back.
Morning, I'm Daniel. Grateful believer in Christ on road recovery, celebrating 15 years of sobriety from alcohol.
Wonderful. All right. Great word. Great word. Cindy.
I guess I'm going first. I have two celebrations. The first, as Lois mentioned, we had our 11th annual Bill and Billy's Kids Go to College, and that's where former preschoolers from a Stepping Stone Foundation, which was birthed out of this congregation, gives college scholarships to those former preschoolers. We awarded 29 scholarships totaling about $23,000, and 17 of them were at the event on Wednesday night. So a great big thank you to Shadow Rock for extending their warm welcome once again to our Bill and Billy's event. The second thing I have to celebrate is I experienced personal grace because I was able to walk in the Japanese Friendship Gardens I never even knew existed downtown Phoenix with His Holiness Barry, that's how he was introduced to me, who is the personal physician of the Dalai Lama, and it was just a morning of complete grace-filled existence. So thank you.
Wonderful. Good. Thank you for that. Mike.
Oh, okay. Yes, it's true that Herb and I went and shopped, and we love to spend money, but many hands make the work light. And though we bought the stuff, we had a wonderful team of folks that assembled the sandwiches, the lunches, brought them over to Turf Manor where we distributed and hung out in the midday sun and all that. And I would like for that team, please, to stand up. Jim, Barb, others.
Yeah.
Bert, please. Liz.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for your leadership, Mike, thank you. Forrest.
I just got back from a week in Texas where I met my new granddaughter, Eliza. And the older I get, the more amazing a baby seems. It was really nice.
Amen. Amen. All right. Many celebrations of life, celebrating the deep goodness of life. Even when it's hard, we still want to proclaim and share with one another that it is a gift. And there is such power in that affirmation. So let us sing our song of celebration.
Celebrate your heart and spirit. Celebrate your life while you live it, even when it's hard to do. Celebrate the best of you. Celebrate your dreams and your visions. Celebrate the love you've been given. Cherish all that you've been through. Celebrate the best of you.
Our offerings for the celebration of life in this place and beyond shall now be received. We're called to make real the sharing of the gifts God has given to us. We offer what we have for the good of all.
Y'all come, so y'all please come. We're singing today Free to Be You and Me, which you all know, I am sure. So, and if you don't come, it's not worth it.
There's a land that I see where the children are free, and I say it ain't far to this land where we are. Take my hand, come with me, where the children are free. Come with me, take my hand, and we'll live in a land where the river runs free, in a land through the green country, in a land to the shining sea, in a land where the horses run free, and you and me are free to be, you and me.
There's a land bright and clear, and the time's coming near when we'll live in this land, you and me, hand in hand. Take my hand, come along, lend your voice to my song. Come along, take my hand, sing a song. In a land where the river runs free, in a land to the green country, in a land to the shining sea, in a land where the horses run free, and you and me are free to be, you and me.
As a river without an outlet becomes stagnant, so life which receives but does not give becomes polluted and sour.
Please rise as you're comfortably able. I'm off.
Be thou my vision, O God of my heart. Not be all else to me save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. Riches I heed not, nor vain empty praise. Thou mine inheritance now and always. Thou and thou only first in my heart. Great God of heaven, my treasure thou art. Be thou my wisdom, and thou my true word. I ever with thee, and thou with me, Lord. Heart of my own heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, creator of all. Please be seated.
Okay. Yeah, that's us too. We get to sit down too.
Nice, nice.
All right. And again, I want to say, as we approach these chairs, the person that is with us on this conversation chose the chair to the left, just like last week. So I don't know what that means, but
I don't know. I'm left-handed, so I think I just thought left.
you know, in a long time ago, Middle Ages, you know what they called the left hand? The sinister hand.
I believe it. I believe it. I believe it.
Well, Kyle,
we also have higher IQs on average, so. Bring that little tidbit up real quick.
Yes, good. So is that left-handed people, sinister people, or atheists that have higher IQs?
Yes.
Yes.
Not necessarily.
Listen, I'm going to be throwing
I've met some right-handed atheists in my day.
Well, Kyle, I don't know how long we've known each other, not for very long, but I know that you have been incredibly patient. You have this project that you do. I want you to explain that to us, but I want to confess. I don't know what role confession has. I think it has a therapeutic role. That you have encouraged this conversation for a long time, and I have had a difficult time fitting it in, not because of the content or because of you. It just has been that way. But you've been incredibly patient, and I want to say thank you for that and welcome to you here.
Thank you. Yeah, what did I call it? I called it interfaith stalking.
Yes.
That's what it was. I was interfaith stalking you.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was good. So explain to us the project and the vision.
So I started this project a couple years ago called Interviewing Atheists at Church Day. I'm a former youth pastor, and I knew lots of people in ministry, lots of pastors, and now I had this new community of humanists and atheists that I was becoming friends with. And I thought, a way to bridge the divide would be to have, some atheists, generally trying to find a more hospitable type, sit down with a pastor on Sunday and just have an interview. And what that does is it puts flesh and blood to the idea of an atheist, right? It also, to my atheist comrades, puts flesh and blood to people in ministry, pastors, and church-going people. So, some atheists out there feel like these facilities are like brainwashing facilities, like compounds and cults, like downstairs there's some polygamous sect hiding, or something, right? So
let me make some notes. I'm missing out on some things here.
I didn't see any like barbed wire around here, but to sort of counteract false stereotypes, right, and caricatures. So I started this project, and there's been about 30 or so of them. You can go on YouTube and type in Interviewing Atheists at Church Day, and a bunch of them pop up.
Yeah, and you do such good work, and you bring such a spirit of openness, gentleness, and humor, and
just on Sunday. can ask Genesis if that's true the rest
yeah,
of the time.
I understand
It's
you're
not.
a real horse's patootie during the rest of the week.
And you won't cuss in front of the congregation,
and,
will you? You said P. You didn't say
the other word.
You didn't drop the hard S there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Every once in a while, it slips out. But that's a different discussion. Okay.
All right. Fair enough.
So what I think part of what I think I'd like to share a little bit of a story. I think it goes back to Thomas Merton. And he tells this story about people of 3 different religions. It could be a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, any 3. Pick 3, you know. And that they're walking along in a garden and they each come to their well and they each fall into their particular well. But when they get to the bottom of the well, what they discover is that it's all the same. It's all the same source. It's all the same underlying structures of reality and a foundation for them. And that these wells represent particular human constructs and expressions of a greater underlying reality. Mm-hmm. What I like about that is I think that is also true and is the underlying assumption of our campfires here. That you can have a non-theist and a traditional theist and an atheist walking along, each going to their well, falling down into that well, and what they'll discover when they're at the bottom is that they all share the same source. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what way we're trying to operate. Tell me what's right or what's wrong with that from your perspective. What are we doing or not doing?
I think it's a good metaphor in the sense that we all struggle in life, right? We all trying to find meaning. We're trying to build purpose. We feel like we want a community. We want affirmation of our identities. It's just a human existential project that we can all share. It doesn't matter what sort of belief system you have. So in that sense, the water represents to me humanity, and that our shared humanity. So in that sense, it's fitting. The only sense in which I might disagree or push back there is that people are radically different. People are radically diverse. And, you know, so sometimes there may be separate ponds that people are in, or separate oceans. I mean, the water may be similar, but, you know, they're very different. So I think being willing to see the common humanity in everybody, but not brushing over radical differences.
So it's important to preserve some of those distinctions, those differences, and that seems to me maybe be at the heart of your transition from theism to humanism. And so, can you say more about that?
Sure, like my deconversion process.
You can call it what you want. I just note.
Yeah.
I think of it as a life transition that you're on this journey.
Sure.
In other words, I think it's possible that you could become a non-theist or a theist later on in your life, and I'm not holding on to that as a hope for your soul or anything like that. I don't believe that.
You don't think I'm an anonymous Christian?
I don't think you're
I don't know it yet.
No, I don't think you're an anonymous Christian, nor
Okay.
do I think you're going to hell because you don't share the same theological content, right? That kind of stuff. So it's not like I'm holding out hope, but I'm really wanting to honor this journey. I mean, I hold, and in fairness, don't tell my congregation, but in fairness, my life could unfold in such a way that, who knows, tomorrow or next year or 10 years from now, I could be an atheist. I believe in that possibility. So that's what I'm saying.
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely. Well, like I said before, I was a youth pastor. So I went off, you know, I converted to Christianity when I was 17 out of a teenage wasteland of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I converted to Christianity. I became a youth pastor. I went off to seminary, you know, and got involved in the ministry and all of that. Then I went off to grad school in Boston. I went to BU. Anybody ever lived in Boston in here? Oh my God. Is
that good or bad?
horrible. It's bad.
It's bad. Oh, okay.
You know, you need some more anger and some more cuss words.
You got some Red Sox. Are you a Red Sox fan?
Not really, but I was when I lived there. You kind of have to be.
Okay.
So you don't want to stick out too much.
So your deconversion is not just theological, but also athletics.
Yeah, it was. Well, I'm from San Diego, so I didn't have much going for me to begin with.
Okay.
So anyway, but I went to grad school and I started studying this stuff further, and I started, it started bringing a lot of doubts into my mind about whether God existed or whether the Bible was God's word or, all of this theological stuff. And, I eventually just reached a point where I was like, I'm not sure if a God exists or not, but if a God did exist, I'm pretty sure this God would understand me following my reason and my conscience where it took me. So that's what I did. And I want to reiterate, though, as an atheist, I'm not out to make more atheists. Like,
right.
I'm fine with people not being atheists. But as far as my personal story, this is where it's taken me.
But you do have, you do have a Jehovah Witness zealousness, don't you?
Like a J-dub?
Yeah.
They're called J-dubs, by the way.
And the reason why I want to say that is because
I got you there.
It seems to me one of the things that's come from our metaphor here at Shadow Rock is to say, traditional theism speaks to the need for intimacy with mystery. Non-theism speaks to the wideness and depth and height of life, of mystery. And atheism really challenges us to have integrity with our interaction and our understanding of that. So that what I hear in a very evangelical way from atheists is, you know what? If you live your life in illusion, then you're not going to take responsibility for your life, the destiny of your life, nor for your community, that you can hide behind religion. You can hide behind God, that when religion is at its worst, this is what happens. And there's been a lot of suffering caused by that. And atheism is the correct challenge, or one of the correct challenges to that. So there is that zeal for that.
Yes, I think we can both agree that people have used their religious beliefs to harm and marginalize. It's rather non-controversial fact, right? So I think we can both agree on that. So in the same way, though, it's for me, it's not just atheists and humanists and skeptics fighting the tyranny of religion. It's moderate religious persons. It's right, and this is part of what this project is supposed to do. It's kind of affirming that not all religious persons or church-going people are quack jobs. They're not all Fred Phelps. The list, I have a huge litany of names I could go through.
Give us a couple more that
Franklin Graham.
That we are not like that, right? Franklin Graham.
Yeah.
Fred Phelps.
Anybody on what is that? 700 Club. Pat Robertson.
Yeah.
Those people.
Yeah.
Those types. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is that there are tons of moderate to liberal religious persons that stand with me who say this is not what we're about. This is not what our tradition is meant to be used for.
Yeah. There's values that we share.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And
I hope so.
I think so. I was assuming that.
Yeah.
I've seen your Facebook page.
That's kind of embarrassing, to be honest.
Oh, why? There wasn't.
Be careful what you post on Facebook, man. It come back to haunt you.
No, what I'm pointing out, what stuck out with me is the way that you will promote these activities that promote kindness and justice and rather they're done by whatever religious group or non-religious group, that's where you're saying, look, in terms of my life, this is where I'm planting my flag. And that says to me that we share these values.
Absolutely. Right. It's amazing the response I get too from my more militant atheist comrades. You know, what are you doing getting atheists to go to church? You know, what are you doing working with Muslims or Buddhists? Or what do you mean? These are human beings. Like, they're more than just the sum of their beliefs about God or the afterlife or anything. These are human beings. We breathe the same air. You know, we have blood pumping. We have the same issues. We get anxiety. We're trying to cope and navigate life. So to reduce people to their title, it's just is simply myopic, and I can't stand it. Because I don't want people to do that to me. I don't want people to go, there's the atheist. Well, I also like pineapple on my pizza.
Yes. Yes.
I'm more than just an atheist.
Yes. It almost sounds like you're trying to practice the golden rule.
Yes. Or the platinum. The platinum rule. I prefer that. So do unto others as they would want done to themselves.
Yes. Yes. And again, it's a universal principle, right?
Yeah. I'm not trying to upstage your Jesus or anything with that.
Well, now we're going to get into it because you can't.
He had some good stuff too. I'll give a little credit.
You can't upstage.
I like when he whipped the money changers out. That was pretty cool.
Oh, now you're getting personal.
Yeah.
I'm going for a raise.
Also, real quick, I do want to congratulate and honor this congregation for being a sanctuary. I am hugely opposed to ICE and these nasty deportation tactics and splitting families apart.
Thank you, Kyle.
So, my grandmother, my abuelita, is from Chihuahua, or was from Chihuahua. So, I have a connection there, and Viva la Mexico, right? Yeah. So I just want to applaud this congregation for doing that.
Thanks. It's been a journey for us too, in understanding what that's about, and it's a constant changing seascape with the law and with the policies and the practices, and yet we do our best to remain true to the mission, and the mission is simply to keep families together and to keep people safe. And that's based upon our values. And, we're allowed to make a God connection or a non-God connection, however you want to make that. We would honor that, but we do share those values.
Absolutely.
So thanks for the good word.
Of course.
All right. So if you have questions, our ushers will have microphones, and they will come to you with questions. And Ahmad and Sonia are here from last week. Hey, welcome back.
Well, thank you. I was going to say I was in that left side last week also.
It's still a little warm. Is that you?
Thank you. There's a commercial that comes on television, mostly on CNN, and this gentleman leads an atheist organization. And his parting words are, he states his name, "Not afraid to burn in hell." I was wondering, did that idea expedite your transition from being a Christian to being an atheist, this whole idea that the peace-loving, beneficent God, having a situation where you could burn in hell forever and never burn up? Did that expedite your thinking process or play a part in any way, shape, or form?
Sure. Wow. See, I wouldn't be like you. I would be like, this atheist is going to hell, Oh, yeah, no. When I was a conservative, I was way more theologically orthodox than you.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, so I believed in a literal hell, and I believed that it was full of atheists and humanists and Muslims and Buddhists and basically everybody except for my small group of people. It's interesting how hell is always reserved for people that you just kind of don't really like,
That's what it's for. Yes.
Yeah. So I think the whole afterlife thing was, to be honest, I've never died. I mean, you have? Well, somebody's died here. I've never died. I don't know 100% that there's nothing after. I really don't. I can't prove it. I highly doubt it, but I can't prove it. So having that sort of existential conundrum of the afterlife is something that kind of frightens me. I think if you're not afraid of death, I think there's something wrong with you. I mean, seriously, some people are so nonchalant about death, like, it's just a natural part of life. No, I don't want to die. Dying sucks. Like, what are we talking about, right? So, you know, that going from Christianity to where I'm at now, I was kind of worried, you know? If there is a God, I want this God to like me. You know what I mean? But now I'm not really worried about it. I don't really believe in an afterlife at this point. But my previous beliefs were, you know, a literal heaven, a literal hell, and I had to get over that idea of like a Jonathan Edwards type God, you know, sinners in the hands of an angry God, like torturing spiders over flames, and this sort of like Dante and this kind of imagery of this overlord God that wants to punish you for your sin. I had to get over that idea.
You know, it was more of a piece of it was not only a theological process, you know, rejecting that theology for a different one, but also an emotional process in terms of growing out of a fear into,
yes.
I don't know what you grow, really a faith of what isn't.
Yeah, I think if there's any lesson, which nobody should glean any lessons from my life, trust me. I've yet to. But I'd say that there is this view of God, this conservative, really fundamentalist view of God, that can actually be quite psychologically damaging to individuals. I mean, I remember as a Christian the stress that I lived under, hoping that I would appease this God, that this God would, you know, not think unfavorably of me, all the bad thoughts in my head or all the impurities. You know, I wanted to be holy and good and righteous. And it's just a huge expectation to place on yourself, you know? And so I think there's a psychological health that can come from, you know, losing a particular view of God.
All right. Speaking of more conservative views of God, Hubert, you have a question.
Yes, I do, but before I ask my question, I would say that
louder.
Before November 8th, 2016, I was like, I hope hell doesn't exist, but after it, I'm like, yes, God, prepare. Get the fire going. So, you know, I've been going the opposite direction. But my question for you is, for me, my understanding of God is very orthodox, like Christianity. But I've always felt that for people who are, I would say, traditional theists, and those who believe, like who are, I would say, more believing that there is a being out there, there is this idea that we are embracing this mystery, this kind of unknown, like unexplainable force that we can't understand. And I've always felt that we sort of embrace that and explore that in our beliefs. And to me, in my view, is that with atheism, it removes that idea that there is a force out there that we don't understand. And my question would be, do you not feel that perhaps that is something can you explore mystery? Can you explore unexplained or, you know, I don't know, coincidences in the way that we do? And I feel that it's enriching in a way because there is this acceptance of I don't know. So do you feel that, do you miss that as being an atheist, or are there other ways in which you can explore that mystery?
That's a great question. From a conservative. Just kidding. No, yeah, absolutely. I get asked that a lot. Like, how can you, is atheism like this dry, sterile, just material view of the world where there's just atoms moving and it's just sort of dry and, you know, everything's causally explained in terms of mechanics, quantum mechanics and all this, and there's, you know, you lose this sort of rich tapestry and poetic expression of the world, right? I think some atheists may have a sort of drier view of the cosmos, but I'd say that even if you don't believe that there's like this force, you know, or this mystery that's guiding the world, or however you want to define God, even just the natural world is awe-inspiring. So there's this sense of, you can have this sense of wonder, this sense of awe. I mean, when I look around, it doesn't have to be the Grand Canyon. It can be, you know, my little girl, I got a 15-month-old, you know, and she has prettier eyes than me, which I didn't think was possible. But my girlfriend made sure to remind me every day that her eyes are prettier than mine. But, you know, looking at her, there's this sense of awe and like, oh my God, this is so amazing.
I'm sorry, what?
Let me just use it, man. It's just a placeholder.
That's fine.
Oh my Dawkins, this is, oh my science, oh my. It just doesn't have the same appeal, does it? Hey, when I cuss too, I still drop the Jesus too. So I put something in his middle name too, which
yes.
I won't mention here. So there's a sense of awe and wonder you can have just about the natural world without any connotations for like a spiritual being or anything that exists beyond it. I think it's in personality. Some people view things more mechanistically, you know, and some people view things more poetically. So I think there's lots of room for awe and mystery and wonder, even just looking at the natural world. But whether that implies something, you know, in atheism, it doesn't really imply anything. It doesn't relate to any sort of spiritual being.
Okay.
You know.
So for you, this whole idea of, like, just really quick, so for you, this whole idea of, I'm like communing with the mystery or the unknown, like it's not very important in a way.
I'd say the non-mysterious and the known is already wonderful.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Good answer. All right. Go ahead with the questions. I'm going to step to the side. I have a piece of housekeeping. I know this sounds rude, but it is rude. I'm going to do that. I'm not abandoning you.
No, go.
I'll be
go
right
ahead.
back.
Leave me to the wolves
Leaving him alone.
These are not wolves, believe me. They're great people. All right.
He doesn't know me yet.
I'm sorry. I wanted to dovetail the previous question because I think there's another component, and that's the spirituality component, or that of consciousness as it relates to the noosphere. Because there's people can look at consciousness as being part and parcel of one thing or another, but if you're an atheist, then it exists in the material sense, but how do you address the metaphysical, as he alluded to, in the sense of aggregate consciousness? Because the nature of consciousness, even without a religious construct, like through the psychedelic experience, through meditation and other pathways, people are pushing the boundaries of consciousness. And I think how we relate metaphysically to the noosphere is something I'd like to hear you elucidate on.
So you'll be hard-pressed to find an atheist that believes that consciousness is anything outside of something that neurons produce. Like, atheists are physicalists. You know, they're not really big on metaphysics. So atheists explain consciousness as an emergent property. It emerges from the interaction and the ongoings of what's happening in your physical brain. So, I mean, that's what most atheists think. I mean, I tend to think that myself. So basically, put it this way. The argument is, I take a piece of your brain out, you're not going to be able to see the color blue. I take another piece of your brain out, you're not going to be able to talk. I take another piece of your brain out, you're not going to experience this sensation, that sensation. You get rid of the whole brain, there's nothing else there. So that's just a general atheist view of consciousness. You can argue against it. Yes. Absolutely. So as far as, yeah. Where are the dumb people? What's happening here? Okay, so
I think perhaps you should limit your interviews to conservative churches.
yeah. So spooky action at a distance, or quantum entanglement, or things that are perplexing and difficult to understand. Usually, I don't want to speak for all atheists, but we sort of wait for further information before connecting it to something metaphysical.
We got gifts for you. Here's water.
Oh, God. I was going to say thank God. That's funny.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Maggie. Okay.
Where's my Frappuccino? Later? All
Again,
right, cool.
Conservative churches.
Yeah.
They got
All
those
right.
things out in the foyer. So.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Didn't you already ask a question, Caroline? Did you?
I've been waiting all this time.
No, did you?
I've been waiting all this time.
All right.
I swear, if you mention quantum mechanics.
I have a follow-up question to that. I actually have two closed-ended questions for you. One of them is, my understanding, and I know a lot of humanist-identified people, and I kind of have encountered two types, and one is kind of like the people who would identify as atheists more so, like I'm atheist as opposed to I'm humanist, right?
Yeah.
And the humanist people tend to be more about the idea of some kind of a consciousness or a higher intelligence that is like above that of man. Just doesn't, like, they might believe in something like that, but it does not fit, let's say, a biblical or an Abrahamic faith idea of what's been brought down through usually Judeo-Christian culture, right?
Sure.
So I just would wonder, how many people in your experience have you encountered that are kind of like more in the one camp, right? Where it's like, well, there could be a higher thing, which is almost a little more like agnosticism.
Yeah.
Right? Well, there could be a higher thing, but it's absolutely not like what has been described and what is preached about it, whatever. And how it's like, there is no God, right?
Sure.
I'm just curious about that, and I'm just going to give you the other question. You said you went to do your postgrad in Boston. I'm a Jersey girl, by the way, so I didn't live in Boston, but I get you.
Close enough.
So I just would be curious to know what you did for your postgrad work.
Okay. All right, well, the former question, the reason I put atheist at interview an atheist at church day as opposed to interview a humanist or something like that is because I want to counteract the stereotypes that exist about atheists. Okay, so atheists are often depicted as immoral. You know, they have no morals, they have no ethical codes, they're not community-driven, have you ever seen the show House? Right? Yeah. Like, he's a jerk, right? And he's an atheist, right? And so you get this depicted a lot. And so I want to counteract that, so that's why I picked the term atheist. But atheist covers a huge umbrella, right? You have people, I consider myself a humanist. You have agnostics, you have humanists, you have skeptics, you have all these people. And then you have atheists that are pretty confident or sure that there is no God. I'm not one of them. I'm like a soft, wimpy atheist. So you have a whole spectrum about like surety, like you said, there is no God. Is that how atheists sound in your head? There is no God. And that's what they sound like? Yeah, okay. So there are those, and then there are others that are like, well, I just don't personally believe in a God. I think it's unlikely, or it's less likely. And then you have some agnostics, well, I don't really know. You have people who are apathetic that just don't care. There's a God, there's not a God, who cares, right? So that's sort of why I picked atheist, is to counteract the negative stereotypes. And at BU, I studied philosophy, religion, and ethics. So, yes. Yeah.
All
and
right.
some science, too.
All right.
Obviously not enough, just enough to get me in trouble.
Okay, Charlie.
This is a very personal question. You talked about your religious bringing up, if you will, and it sounded like a pretty traditional fundamentalist approach. I was just wondering, I assume, first of all, that your ex-conversion was not a step change, it was over time.
Yeah.
But did your family and friends ostracize you? Because I'm thinking my own upbringing, it'd be kind of like I admit to my family I was gay, even though I'm not, because it would be probably one of the worst things they could ever hear. So how did your family and friends react to this ex-conversion?
That's a good question. So, as a Christian, I was friends with lots of Christians, and yes, we were conservative, pretty fundamentalist. So, leaving that is difficult. I had lots of friends who were like, "You're backsliding. You're worried about my soul. Thought I was going to go to hell." So I had some friends that stuck by me through it and were like, "This is just you. I'm still your friend regardless of what you believe." But then I had others who just disowned me. Like tons of people just disowned me. A pastor friend of mine in Ireland, who I was basically best friends with for about 4 or 5 years, just stopped talking to me. I still haven't talked to him to this day. And I was trying to reach out like, "Hey, I'm still me. I'm still just a person. We still can be friends, I'm not going to poison your well, Okay, maybe a little, but not too much." So that has happened. My family stuck by me for the most part. I wasn't raised religious. I converted when I was 17. So, they've seen me go through up and downs, my whole life. So they were still there for me. So I had that. But some people stuck by and some people didn't.
Okay. I think, Jim, you've been waiting for a while, right? Is that
Yep.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, first to build on Charlie's, I would think my family was or is very conservative religiously, conservative Christian, and I would have to say that my saying that I was atheist was worse than my brother saying that he was gay. So I do believe that. But my question or observation, based on everything that people have been asking you, is that one of my favorite authors, Tom Robbins, had a quote from one of his characters that said, "Science gives man what he needs, magic gives him what he wants." And that's my observation on organized religion, is it's so filled with magic. And I was just wondering that since you said yours is on the physical and what's there, is there none of, we all love the magic, and the Bible is filled with it. Our lives are filled with stories of the magic. Is that not a part of yours? And I'm not trying to defend magic, just that I think man has an innate need to try and explain things, and when he can't,
Sure.
He ascribes it to magic.
Sure. My sister really loves science fiction and fantasy. I don't, I think there's a personality type that fits better with, more magical or metaphysical, or we could even say poetic ways of viewing the world. Yes, human beings need to construct narratives. They need to place themselves in a story. That's how they derive meaning, But this can all be done without magic. Like I was saying before, the non-magical is amazing. The physical reality is awe-inspiring. It's befuddling. And so I don't really need anything more. It's already the natural world, and just humanity itself, in culture, in art, in history, and everything is already beautiful. It's already rich. You know, I don't need to go outside of that to derive meaning or to, you know, get something else that I can't get with the physical world. I mean, any look from the Hubble telescope will provide that for you. I like poetry. You know, I like a romantic view of the world. But it doesn't, to me, it doesn't imply anything else.
Thank you.
I don't know.
I want to dovetail what he just asked. Have you ever seen a movie directed by Stanley Kubrick called 2001: A Space Odyssey?
I've seen every movie by Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's actually my favorite director. So
All right.
yes.
Good. Martha.
My question to you is there anything in your life that happened that made you turn to atheist? Because a lot of times people go through things and they block things out, and it's something that was bothering you inside your soul that made you want to turn into an atheist, away from God. What do you feel made you turn?
So I didn't have like a traumatic experience or anything like that. I mean, other than my previous views that I thought were pretty unhealthy, I didn't have any sort of like abuse or trauma or anything like that. But, I get asked this pretty frequently. It wasn't one thing, you know, it's multiple things. It wasn't like it wasn't just all rational things like I'm, you know, Data from Star Trek where I just computed these things and went beep, 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 beep. God does not exist, you know. People aren't robotic. We're not mechanical. You know, we don't work in robotic vacuums. You know, we're not just computers. So it wasn't just rational reasons, right? It was also emotional, heartfelt, volitional stuff. Like it just didn't fit with my lifestyle or with who I wanted to be or with what resonated on the inside of me.
But why didn't it fit in your lifestyle? What made it to the point where it did not fit? Because he gives you everything that you asked for, and yet you say it didn't fit. Why? What made it not fit?
Okay, so we can disagree on whether a God exists or not, and I can have certain reasons why I think other people believe in God, but I'm not going to presume to or assume that somebody believes in God because, you know, what I'm saying is I can flip it and be like, you know, what sort of traumatic thing happened to you to make you believe in God? But I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to assume that you need something traumatic to happen to believe in God or to not believe in God. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Liz.
Real simple question. Do you pray?
That's a good question. I'm not going to lie. So this was like a year ago. Every year I fly out to England to see my sister and my nephew. And when I'm on that plane at 30-something thousand feet, I'm claustrophobic and I have a fear of heights. So I take a bunch of Xanax and drink.
And pray.
Yeah. So there have been times where I've had anxiety really bad. And I've been on that flight, and I've imagined that. I mean, this just happened, right? The Southwest flight. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, it's my biggest nightmare. So there have been times where turbulence has hit, and I've thought about my impending demise, and I've prayed. I have. I won't deny that. When the turbulence stops and when I land, and to be honest, I don't even know who I'm praying to be completely honest. Right? Like, it's just sort of throwing it out there like Pascal's wager, you know? I'll throw it to whatever God might help me, you know? It could be Allah, it could be Ganesh, could be Ahura Mazda, it could be Jesus, right? So I'm just scared in the moment, and I want some sort of security. I also chant a Nichiren Buddhist chant, Nomo Ryo, bow to the law of cause and effect. So that kind of calms my anxiety. But every now and then I'll want to pray, yeah.
So I went to Vegas Tuesday, and on Southwest, and where that tragedy happened,
was the window seat right behind the wing, behind the engine, and that's where I ended up sitting. And so I thought about this, and I text my family the video from The World According to Garp, where the plane crashes into the house, and he says, "We'll take it. What are the chances of this ever happening again?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of go through your mind, and you'll say, "See, I didn't pray. I did a very atheist, scientific kind of thing in terms of this is 1 in a million kind of thing, right?"
You calculated the probability.
So I said, that's probably where I should sit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I got my ticket to fly out to England on 9/11.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
What
the
the
likelihood
chances?
that it's going to happen
Yeah.
again on 9/11
All
is
right.
very minuscule.
Okay.
It's a cheaper ticket,
so,
too.
Which this leads, it also leads to my other question. So I'm a believer that went to Las Vegas. Who has more fun, an atheist or a believer?
How much cocaine is there?
Yes.
I'm sorry, that's not appropriate.
That's
here. I am just kidding. How much sugar-free soda
Yes.
is there? No, I don't know. I think everybody can have some fun.
It's a hard.
You know?
Yeah, I don't. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm
Right?
sure you did. You have fun in Vegas?
Well, it's our annual brothers trip, and it's kind of like the beginning of a joke. There's 3 of us. It's like a minister, a doctor, and a Muslim go to Las Vegas. And
Okay.
Yeah, I have a brother converted to Islam.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
okay.
All right. So it wasn't like The Hangover 4 or anything like that.
Okay, so all right. This will be our last question. So, Marilyn.
For me, I have 1 foot in the atheist space and another in the non-theist space, and I travel that path in between. And one of the reasons I'm here is that I want community.
Mm-hmm.
I want to work for justice with like-minded people. Do you have that calling or feeling for yourself? And if so, how do you meet it?
Yeah, that's good. I felt like when I lost my faith or when I deconverted, I lost a huge community. Yeah, and that was destabilizing for me. Because church was a place where it wasn't just like the boring place I went every Sunday reluctantly. These were like, it was like my family, you know, and we need that community. So I felt a certain sense of loss, you know. I have that same thing. I don't want to just be like an atheist on an island by myself. I want to do good things in the world. That makes me feel better, you know, to do things. I mean, my job is working with mentally ill adults, you know, with substance abuse issues. So I derive some meaning there, although it can be difficult sometimes. But also just projects like this, like doing interfaith work, doing Interview an Atheist at Church Day, helping counteract stereotypes. These things give me lots of pleasure. So that's how I find my meaning. You know, I feel like this is what I'm meant to do with my life. So.
Well, one of the things that we do here is a driving metaphor, as I said, is the campfire metaphor, but at the center of that is the table of Jesus. And rather you know, the faith of Jesus versus the faith in Jesus. And, you know, so from that line, we allow all of that. But the values of that table, the values of that vision of that ministry is central to us. So a place at the table for everybody is important to us. And so when we take in people to be a part of our church, and they claim us and we claim them, we want to make sure they have a place at the table. We don't give them a membership certificate. We give them a placemat, symbolic of having a place at the table.
Clever.
Okay? Thank you.
No, I thought it was clever.
Okay.
I'm not even being sarcastic. I'm being serious. Place
at the table.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
This is your placemat.
Awesome.
So
Thank
welcome
you.
to our table.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Okay.
This is really cool.
All right. Now, I'd like for us to take take time to, do we have Glory Hallelujah? We do. Thank you, Dave, and I apologize for not communicating better with you.
He asked for atheist songs.
I did ask for atheist songs, so here's one. It's kind of a rowdy version of Imagine, so pay attention.
Brothers and sisters, have you heard the news? The storm has lifted and there's nothing to lose. So swap your confirmation for your dancing shoes, because there never was no
Words
God.
are in the bulletin.
Step out of the darkness and onto the streets. Forget about the fast, let's have a carnival feast. Raise up your lowered head and hear the liberation beat, because there never was no God, and there is no God.
Very happy tune.
So clap your hands together. There is no God, no heaven and no hell. There is no God. We're all in this together. There is no God. So ring that victory bell. Cowering in the dark before some overbearing priest. No waiting until we die, until we restitute the meek. No blaming all our failings on imaginary beasts, because there never was no God. The fighting of a land your distant fathers told you of. No spilling blood for those who never spread a drop of love. The finger pointing justified by phantoms up above, because there never was no God. There is no God. So clap your hands together. There is no God. No heaven and no hell. There is
Can't clap.
no God. We're all in this together. There is no God. So ring that victory bell. I know you're scared of giant man, and I am too. But just pretending it's not happening isn't gonna see us through. If we accept that there's an end game and we haven't got much time, then in the here and now, then we can try and do things right. We be our own salvation army, and together we believe in all the wondrous things that mere mortals can achieve. Well, I've known beauty in the stillness of cathedrals in the day. I've sung glory, hallelujah, won't you wash my sins away? But now we're singing my refrain, and this is what I say. I say there never was no God. There is no God. So clap your hands together. There is no God, no heaven and no hell. But there is no God. We're all in this together. There is no God. So ring that victory bell. One more time. There is no God. So clap your hands together. There is no God, no heaven and no hell. There is no God.
Well, Kyle, that was kind of rowdy and in our face. but it's all right. It's all right. Anything you want to say about it? Or
It's a little more firebrand than my approach.
Yeah.
But you asked for an atheist song,
I
so
did.
that's about as atheist as you can get. I was saying right as it started playing, I'm like, oh man, forgive me. You asked. I'm like an interfaith person. I want everyone to get along. You don't have to be an atheist. It's all good.
Yeah.
But you asked for it, so.
I did ask for it, and it seems to me that if, in fact, we're going to really honor not just what we think in our campfires, but how we feel as well, that there should be a firebrand equality within our communities. And this song represents that. And, you know, I mean, for me, emotionally, there's a certain awkwardness of it, a certain uncomfortableness, and yet it's like, I want to honor you and I want to honor people like you in our place. And therefore, we need to play this song. And we can celebrate it too, because there's a lot of truth in these verses. A lot of truth in these verses.
Yeah, even if you don't believe that there is no God part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So, very much appreciate it. You have a place at our table, and thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. Oh, I'm not sitting? I don't.
No matter who you are, no matter where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here.
The paths of our journey go from campfire to campfire.
We are a diverse people at different places at different times.
May our most worn paths be to the one table of grace.
These are the times.
We are the people.
All of creation is blessed.
May we love all and serve all.
May God be with you.
And also with you.
Amen.
Amen.